Welcome to LOA Today. I'm Walt Thiessen here with Alex King. Today is Thursday, June the 6th, 2019. It is 8 a.m. in New York, 5 a.m. in Los Angeles, 1 p.m. in London, and 10 p.m. in Sydney, Australia. But wherever you are in the world, thank you for joining us for another episode of LOA Today, your daily dose of happy. And I am happy that we are doing our Thursday show. The only unhappy part is that Joel has another client emergency he's dealing with. So that's the sad part. But the good news is you get Alex and me, and we're going to be talking about something. I don't even know what it is. Alex is refusing to share her secret until we actually get live on the show. So I will find out with the rest of our listeners what we're talking about. But before we do that, I want to make sure I get our promos out of the way.
Right.
First and foremost, and I've been telling people what the progress is, the casting process is now closed, and the three of us are in deliberations about who are going to be the final cast members for The Grass is Greener. It looks like we'll probably be coming up with at least our initial decisions by this Saturday. So if you're one of the people who have responded, and there are so many who responded, we're really, really grateful to all the people, wonderful voices who submitted their audition recordings and callbacks and so forth. We're going to have a good selection, no doubt about that. And it's just a question of, who's going to be the lead and who's going to be the supporting actors and all that kind of stuff. I don't know who it's going to be, Alex. I mean, you probably know because you've already figured it all out.
Oh, I know.
She's already got it, but she's not telling because she's a good trooper.
No spoilers today.
No spoilers. No. You have to tune in to spoiler alert for that. But
actually, spoiler alert has been canceled. I know, shock and awe.
Oh my God, what happened?
I decided that with all the work I'm doing with you, I just don't have the time for it, to be honest. And I'm not getting the views that, and I know it takes a while to get views, but it's been a year. So it's just not getting the results that I was expecting. And I'd rather focus it back more on my spoiler alert Facebook page.
Oh, okay. All right.
So it's still alive, but not in voice form.
Okay. Well, we can actually resurrect that anytime you want to on one of the shows.
Oh, yeah.
We have a little segment, the special spoiler alert segment by Alex King, right?
That is not a problem.
All right. That sounds good. Okay. But yes, absolutely. The casting process is really coming along nicely, and we're going to have some decisions soon. And then I've been also working on stuff related to your favorite term, merch, and kinds of fundraising, figuring all that stuff out, and figuring out what it's going to cost us to outlay the money to get this thing started and all that. Like, oh my God. And when you have no budget at all, it's tough.
A little bit.
But it's all good. It's all good.
But being broke makes you creative.
It does. Boy, you just stretch your mind. You really, really do. Yeah.
You find a way.
Now, I have to admit, I've been stretching my mind for about 40 years. I'm kind of tired of it, but
I'll find a way.
Okay. No, seriously, it's coming along really, really nicely.
Yeah.
So there's that. And there's also the fact that, of course, if you're not yet a subscriber to the podcast, we want you to become a subscriber because, among other things, that's how you keep up with, what's happening with The Grass is Greener, as well as the 5 shows that we do every single week. So become a subscriber. If you're not yet subscribing, it's easy to do in most of the places where you're seeing this particular podcast. There's a description. And in the description, there are links. But if you can't find all that, just go to the homepage of our website, loatoday.net. And right there at the top will be instructions for how to subscribe with your device. And then once you're subscribed, of course, subscribe and share. So make sure that you're sharing with other people the fact that you're listening to LOA Today. And also, we want you to subscribe to us on YouTube because that's where we're doing our live streaming. So if you're not subscribed on YouTube, how do they do it?
You go to YouTube and search for LOA Today podcast videos. And once you've done that, subscribe. And once you hit the subscribe button, there's a little bell next to it. And you hit that bell and it'll notify you every time we are going live. And don't forget also when you're watching the videos to hit that thumbs up and let us know that you like the video.
Oh, yeah, we love that. That always that and when we get the emails or other contacts from people,
Yeah, those are sweet.
Like the show. Oh, boy, they give you a lift for the day.
Just brightens up your day.
It really does. It's wonderful. So, yeah, there's all that. And I think there's something else I wanted to bring up, but I've been making notes about everything else that we have to do, but I didn't make a note on that. Go figure.
You didn't tell Siri to make a note?
I didn't. No. I didn't tell
Yeah.
the fruit phone.
Yeah.
That's her name. For those of us who are Apple iPhone users, we are constantly insulted by Alex, who insists that we use nothing but fruit phones.
Android for life. Google and Alexa all day.
You gotta love it. You gotta love it. So, I can't remember what the other announcement was, but if I remember it, I will bring it up, during the podcast. So
Alexa would have remembered.
Well, so would Siri if I had told her. It's just, I just didn't write it down. I didn't tell anybody. I mean, you got to record it somewhere, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So anyway, enough of the pins and needles. What's the topic for today?
Okay, so I want to follow up on what we were talking about last week about how to get yourself back into your tip-top shape after a breakup.
Oh, good topic. Yeah.
Following that, I want to discuss how you communicate love, how you show love, how you receive love, aka your 5 love languages. So today I want to talk about
5 love languages. Okay, now we got a few things to go through here, so this is good. Okay.
Yes. So you need to. There's 5 different love languages, but also you can apply to all of them. You can apply to one of them, but there's also the fact that you can receive love in one way and you give love in a different way. So it's interesting to find out which ones apply to you.
Okay. So let's talk about what are the 5 love languages, first of all. Let's define our terms a bit.
Okay. So the first love language is words of affirmation.
Okay.
So basically encouraging, affirming, listening, empathizing, appreciating, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
The second one is acts of service.
Okay.
So action phrases like "I'll help you," "Do you need help?" Let them know that you're both in this relationship together.
Very important. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Probably the most important phrase I learned in my marriage with Louise very early on, and not because of anything she said, just because I learned it's good, is, "Can I help you with that?"
Exactly. Receiving gifts is the third love language. And I don't know how I feel about this love language because I feel like this is like the gold diggers love language. Like, I only like you because you buy me things. Like,
it's an interesting problem, and it's one I had too. In fact, at one point, Louise and I had a discussion about it because of that. Because she wanted more flowers. And I had this issue that, like, geez, it feels like I'm buying my love or something.
Yeah.
But you know what she convinced me of? She assured me that that's not the way she's feeling it. What she feels is that when I'm getting flowers for her, I am helping to brighten up her day.
Yes.
And so when I understood it that way, I said, okay, well, all right, now buying flowers is okay. I can handle that.
Right.
All right.
See, that's what open communication is key.
Yes.
Like you have to, if you're feeling a certain way about something, discuss it with your partner.
Yeah. Very, very important. I agree.
Yeah.
Isn't that why they call it a relationship? I mean, supposed to be relating to each other. That's why they call it relation. It's the same root,
Oh my God, I'm so hot today. I think it's going to be an AC day.
Uh-oh. And we're in the northeast part of the country, folks.
Yeah.
I mean, this is really something.
All right, I'm going to turn it on. Let me know if it's too loud. Hold on.
Okay.
Okay.
What'd you say? No, I'm kidding.
Oh, that feels good. Okay. Because I'm not going to sit here through the whole podcast like this. This does nothing.
Right.
This is just recycling air. Okay, the fourth love language is quality time. And this is one of my important love languages. Like, I feel like talking on the phone, video chatting, actually spending time with me, those are how you show me you care about me. So, uninterrupted conversations, one-on-one time, that's how you show quality time.
Yeah. Yeah, in fact, if you're in a relationship and you're not wanting to have what you're calling quality time, what I just call spending time with my wife.
But hello.
If you're not wanting to do that, why are you in the relationship?
You clearly don't want to be with that person, so you should just stop it right now.
Why are you in any relationship?
Right.
What is the point of a relationship? Is it just sex? I mean, come on.
Well, that's the last love language. Way to segue. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Physical touch is the fifth love language, and it's nonverbal body language to emphasizes physical touch and intimacy. So like hugging, kissing, holding hands, making time for intimacy, which can become a problem for some people, especially after having a child or something like that, or going through something traumatic. Like it's hard to get back in that groove. So you may have to substitute another love language and figure something out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think there should be a sixth one.
What would be the sixth one?
Sending energy, sending love.
Let me see if that applies to anything here.
Because you don't have to be talking to somebody. You don't even have to be in the same room to do that.
No, there's actually an exercise that you're supposed to do during your quality time where you spend 4 minutes staring into each other's eyes and not saying anything.
Okay, yeah. All right. So that's good. I mean, that's when you're in the same room. But like right now we're doing this podcast, and because we're talking about this, I'm thinking about Louise. Louise isn't even here. Yeah. She's off doing her gardening stuff. And I'm sending love to her right now.
Are you sending good vibes?
I am. Yeah. I just call it sending love, but that's because I'm 1,000 years old, so
right. I've also found, I saw this the other day on Facebook, that there is an app a device that takes care of that. Like if you're in a long distance relationship and you want the other person to know that you're thinking about them, you can have synchronized bracelets, right?
I love it.
And when you tap the bracelet, it vibrates on the other person's arm to let them know you're thinking about them.
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
I was like, that's cute and creepy all in the same way.
It is. Yeah, it's both. It also occurs to me there needs to be like an on-hold feature for that.
Right. Like
if I'm in the middle of programming something, the last thing I want to do is, notice something on my arm. I'm focusing so hard on what I'm doing, right? So when I'm done, I can push the button and back. Oh, okay, there.
Yeah, there should be a do not disturb button on that
thing. That's right.
It's like you're at work and you're like, buzz, I get it. God. Yes, buzz to you too. Jeez.
Yeah, right.
Oh, man.
It's an interesting take on Skinnerian training where you train a rat to run through a maze and so forth, and you reward him at the end. This is the way you get the reward,
Wasn't that Pavlov's dogs?
Well, Pavlov, Skinner, a lot of people did it. I mean, Skinner also did it with pain, which is why, and we won't even go there.
That's a whole different kind of relationship.
But behavioral training, behavioral psychology is, there's that. So
right.
I don't know if I think I've just talked myself out of wearing the wristband.
Well, you and Louise aren't long distance. Like you see each other every day.
This is true. Yeah.
Yeah.
But even so.
So anyways, I bring up this subject because I feel like it's important for you to discover what your love languages are, so you know what you want out of a relationship.
Oh, yeah.
And I think every person should do this because, the conversation should come up at some point. It comes up in my relationships. I always ask, what's your love language? And if they don't know what it is, we take the test. We go through it. We talk about our answers.
There's a test?
There's a test. You can take a test online.
Wow.
And there's also an app for it. So like it kind of works with not with the bracelet, but like not conjunction with the bracelet because it's a totally separate thing, but it's called Love Nudge.
Okay.
And you can, based on both your love languages on the test that you took in the app, it'll give your partner a list of things that you can do throughout the day to let your partner know that you care about them. So once you've done those things, you can check them off the list. And if your partner's not, and there's also a love scale. So it's like, how loved are you feeling today? And if your partner's at a 50, your phone will vibrate and it'll go, hey, you might want to pick number 1 through 3 and let your partner know,
So is this a test you have to study for?
No, this is just it's a personality test.
It's a personality test. Oh,
yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Got it.
This is just how you figure out which of the 5 love languages belong to you as far as how you receive love and how you give love.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. That makes sense. Yeah.
So which ones do you think apply to you?
I never thought about them broken down that way. I mean, we just kind of do those things, but we don't have those labels attached to them. So when you said love language, I said, okay, well, what is this esoteric thing? I don't know what it is.
Esoteric. Word of the day.
That's the word of the day. Yeah, well, you got your hashtag list started, so that's good.
Actually, I don't. Where's my pen?
Oh, my God. Alex has started a list. I don't know if I can handle this.
Oh, wait. I can't move anything because my phone will fall because it's not participating today.
Yeah, unfortunately, the non-food phone is having trouble deciding what the orientation is today.
No, it's Zoom is being a jerk today. That's what it is.
Yeah, it's all Zoom's fault, right? The phone has nothing to do with this.
The phone works fine every other day of the week, just saying. Zoom's having a bitch fit right now.
I'm sure the folks at Zoom will be very glad to hear this.
Good. Write them a letter. Get the manager.
Get the manager.
I'll have to figure out the hashtags later because I cannot find my pen.
Okay. We'll live. That's all right. But, yes, that's the esoteric word for the day is esoteric. I never really thought about love languages. I just thought about, well, first of all, how do I want to express myself to her? Mm-hmm. Probably incidentally, and this is where it would come up in conversation. How do I want her to express to me? Mm-hmm. And we didn't give it labels or anything. We just said, well, this is what I like. That's what I like. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's good.
Well, yeah, you can do it the old school way. Yeah, definitely.
I mean, we did it without social media,
Yeah. Well, as you notice, social media is not on here. I
did notice that, actually. I think that's why I mentioned it.
Posting about your mate is not a way of showing love. That's like a marking your territory type of thing. That's like, giving your partner a hickey and letting her walk around with it to let people know, this is mine, do not touchy.
It depends on how you do it. If you do it the way you just described, then, I don't think I would ever do that to Louise.
No. I'm too grown for hickeys, please.
No. But if it's something like, like when Louise had her first really, really big customer, I bragged to the world, hey, Louise just landed this gigantic customer. This is fabulous.
Bragging is great. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's words of affirmation.
Yeah, it is.
Mm-hmm.
Right. That's exactly what that falls into. Mm-hmm. Telling everybody else, I'm so proud of my wife.
Yeah. Sending a note or text with genuine encouragement.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Words of affirmation.
Now, you do have to know your partner. I knew that would be something that Louise would be happy to have me post about to the world.
Yes.
You have to pay attention. You have to.
Yeah, exactly.
If you have some reason to believe your partner's not going to like it, don't do it. That's not a good idea.
Any doubt in your mind, don't do it.
Right. Exactly. This is what they used to call common sense, which apparently has disappeared entirely from the lexicon. So,
well, what happened is social media common sense.
Yeah, I would agree with that diagnosis.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All you have to do is look at social media, and you can tell.
Exactly. Oh, man.
When you're married to a psychotherapist, and Louise was one for 10 years, one of the things that you really learn to pay attention to is boundaries. And it's amazing how few people on social media have boundaries. Mm-hmm. Have you noticed that?
Yes. They share everything with the world, whether it be our business or not.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, stuff that you don't even want to know about.
I'm nosy, so I want to know everything.
Well, you want to know everything.
So social media is like a breeding ground of information for me. So.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes, I do want to hear about your divorce and your baby daddy and all this stuff. I do want to hear about it.
You realize that's also a boundary issue, right?
But it's a social media boundary issue. I don't bring it into my life.
Oh, it's social media's fault. Okay, I got it.
Yeah. Like I have separate bubbles for things.
I see.
It's like how I don't allow TV to affect my mental status. Like if something bad happens, like the other day I was watching A Dog's Journey. Total tearjerker.
Okay.
Was it A Dog's Journey? No, it was the sequel, A Dog's Purpose. Even more of a tearjerker.
Okay.
And this happened with Marley and Me when I watched Marley and Me, and I said, spoiler alert, Marley dies. But when Marley died, I looked my dog dead in the face, and I said, you cannot die.
No.
And I was like, I cried for like 2 days.
Oh.
So I realized I had to create boundaries between TV and me.
Absolutely.
And I can't let it affect me like that because it's not real life. It can happen, but it's not real life. It's not happening right now.
Well, there's also the LOA component.
That too. Yeah.
You're focusing on what it is that you really, really dislike.
Yes.
So you can attract more of it.
Exactly. So like, yeah, for a while I was like watching, making sure my dog was breathing, you know, because I have that issue. But just checking, and he's just.
I know the feel. We have the same issue actually with Joy. We have two cats, Joy and Harmony, and Joy, he loves to be outdoors. Now, we live kind of in the suburban country, you know, so there's a lot of wildlife. Mm-hmm. There are bears, there are bobcats, there are foxes, there are all kinds of predators out there. So, you know, you always wonder, well, you know, a lot of people just keep their cats in, you know.
Right.
And we would Harmony actually loves to stay in, so that's not a problem. Joy, he would absolutely just wither away and die if he couldn't be outside during the summer 24/7. Seriously, he actually becomes depressed if he has to stay inside.
He gets seasonal depression.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's not just seasonal. It's year round, actually.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah. During the winter is tough for him.
Yeah.
I have to give him we both have to give him a lot of attention during the winter just to help keep his spirits up.
Yep. Chloe's the same way. If she can't sit in the sun, she doesn't know what to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And he wants to be out there doing all his cat things. But
doing cat stuff for cat money.
He's doing the cat stuff. Yeah. Yeah. Interestingly enough, we actually have not had any predator issues. And that's something I wanted to get to because he's actually very street smart when it comes to being outside.
Nice.
Both he and Harmony, we rescued them because they were abandoned by people who lived across the street where we lived in Virginia when those people moved out and just left 4 cats behind to fend for themselves.
Jerks.
Yeah, especially since they knew about the animal shelter and we had proof of it, but that's another story.
Oh, wow. That's even worse.
Yeah. But anyway, we ended up saving all 4 of them. 2 of them now have other homes, and we kept these 2. And so that part all worked out well. But because of that experience, Joy became very, very street smart, or I guess country smart, I guess you would call it.
Country smart.
Yeah. So he knows how to take care of himself. He knows how to stay away from the predators. He knows how to hide. It also helps that he's all black. So at night, a black cat, you know, that makes it a lot easier to hide.
All he has to do is close his eyes and he's fine.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Believe it or not, the biggest issue has been with another stray feral cat, a gray cat, who likes to come over and mark territory and so forth. And of course, Joy is
Kick his ass. Kick his ass.
Yeah. And Joy does. Joy is a small male cat, as male cats go. He's long, but he's very small.
But those are the scrappy ones.
I tell you, that gray cat doesn't have a chance. He outweighs Joy about 2 to 1, but every once in a while we hear that cat scream outside, and I go out and check, and there's the gray cat slinking around the corner, and Joy's sitting there going, meow.
Oh, my God.
But he did get into a fight with that cat one time and got a serious injury that actually cost a lot of vet dollars. Yeah, so there is that concern. But overall, he does a good job of protecting himself, which is a really, really good thing.
Good.
But we had to kind of put him out with the knowledge that, you know, you have to let it go.
Yeah.
You just if it's his time, it's his time. But we couldn't let him live any other way because he wouldn't be happy. He loves being out there. He absolutely loves it. And the reason I go, I mean, this is definitely a tangent from our topic, but there's a reason why I'm going off on this tangent. We deal with Joy the way he needs to be dealt with.
Exactly. That actually goes back to the topic, but yeah.
Exactly. That's what it's all about. You have to meet your mate the way that person needs to be met.
Yes. And if you can't do it, then that's not the mate for you.
Yeah, well, if you can't do it, you also want to take a little quick inventory inside to find out, are you really interested in having a mate?
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't mean that there aren't mates that are not dysfunctional and are overly needy and all that kind of stuff. That is more along the case of what you're talking about, where, well, this may not be the right person for you. In fact, it may not be the right person for anybody. But, right? Not until they, get themselves cleaned up a little bit.
Right.
But when we're talking about a healthy relationship, you gotta know what your partner wants and needs. And you gotta, if you don't know, it's perfectly okay to ask.
Yes, it is.
Even if it's about the most intimate stuff, it's still perfectly okay to ask. In fact, I have yet to run into a situation where it wasn't deeply appreciated.
Right. Yes.
Right?
Like, communication is huge with me. Like, I'm big on communication. Like,
Yep. So there's how pets tie into relationships. So you got your 5 love languages. So
yes.
you brought this up partly to talk about love languages, but partly to talk about the original topic. So let's go back to the original topic. And how were you thinking about it?
I was thinking about it as far as, okay, so it's after a breakup, you've had some time, gotten yourself together. Now you need to figure out how to shape yourself up for the next one. And
okay.
how to make, and possibly make that a successful relationship. Like by learning from your past mistakes or their past mistakes or what you preferred, what you don't prefer. And that involves the love languages, knowing your love language and what you need and what you are expected to give.
There is a big, huge advantage to doing that I can see. There are probably a number of them, but the one that instantly jumps to mind is if you just had a breakup, especially if it was a painful breakup, well, there's no better way to take your mind away from that pain than focusing on what's next.
Yes.
Right?
Yep. That's what they say. You get over one by getting under another one.
do you not find it to be true the way you said that? I'm not sure.
I feel like there should be some time, but it depends on the situation.
Yeah.
Because if you're talking to a guy for 2 weeks and he just ghosts you, you can quickly move on to the next one.
Yeah.
But if you were in like a 3-year relationship, you guys were talking about marriage, and then you guys broke up for whatever reason, what have you, you might want to take some time for yourself to just get in the right headspace for a new person.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that is important.
Yeah.
Partly to give yourself what they call closure.
Yep.
People always look for closure outside of themselves, but it really comes inside, I think.
Yeah. If you think about it long enough, you can come up with your own closure and just be satisfied with that.
Yeah. In fact, if you find yourself looking for closure continuously from the other person, that's a great sign that you got something to work on.
Funny story about that.
Okay.
I'm friends with one of my exes, and we've been friends for like 15, 17 years now. And
that's disproving the old motto that you can't be friends with an ex.
No, you can.
That's what I mean. It disproves the model.
Oh, disproves. I thought you said it. Yeah. I thought you said it proves. I was like, no, not what I said.
No, because that's been around for the longest time. The cliche that you can't be friends with an ex. It just doesn't work. Well, you can.
You definitely can. You definitely can. Yeah, especially if you both realize like you don't belong together, but there's still a relationship there. You know what I mean? Because relationships come in all shapes and colors and forms.
They do. And by the way, I'm not recommending it necessarily because a lot of exes you really do want to stay away from.
Yes, some of them need to go permanently. Delete their number. Well, actually, don't delete their number because if they call, you want to know it's them calling and you don't answer. Right. So don't delete their number.
Or you can block the number.
You can block the number, yes.
Yes.
That's true. So me and Dre have been friends for like 15, 17 years, and I think after the first year that we broke up, we were still cool and everything. And I just called him one day and I was like, look, I decided we're getting back together. End of story. Yeah. And he was like, okay, no. And I was like, oh, all right. I was like, well, in that case, I need you to tell me why we broke up. Because he broke up with me until this day won't tell me why.
Oh, really?
So once a year, I make it a habit to ask him. I've been asking him for 17 years.
This falls into the category of insanity, folks. This is where you repeat the same behavior over and over again, expecting
different results. Yes. One day he will tell me. No, so it's like an ongoing joke, and I'm
You're
like,
just gonna wear him down. That's what it is.
Exactly. But I say that to say this. I had come to the closure on my own. Like, we're great friends. Obviously, that was what we were meant to be, but we had to go through what we went through to have the strong friendship that we have now. Mm-hmm. And I also had to be, he's very nonchalant, go with the flow type of person. And my go-getter, must stay in contact with all my friends attitude, like he commends me for that. Words of affirmation. He always says, you know what? I don't think we'd still be friends if it wasn't for you, because you are the number one person who always calls me, makes sure I'm okay, calls me on my birthday, makes sure that we stay in touch. Our numbers haven't changed, but we always stay in touch. And I was like, yeah, I'm like that with all my friends. And they want me to be in touch. That's fine.
Yeah.
But,
key phrase right there, that want you to be in touch.
Yeah, exactly.
Very important.
I talk to them. Communication is huge. I let them know, listen, I haven't talked to you in 6 months. If you want this to be the last conversation, don't call me back and I'll delete you. And problem solved. Mm-hmm. I don't have time to.
That's a good way to do it, by the way.
I don't have space in my contacts to be wasting. So.
I mean, yeah, that's true. You have such a long contact list, but beyond that, it's also, you create a nice little method there to not set yourself up to be hanging on pins and needles.
Yes, exactly.
Which is very good.
I don't have stress, so I don't create stress. And if stress really starts to creep up in my life, I deal with it and get rid of it.
That's what delete keys are for. Yes.
Control Alt Delete, get it out.
Reboot.
Oh man, but yes, that's so that's a funny story about staying friends with your exes and coming to closure on your own. And just accepting that, even though we have an ongoing joke. But one day, I swear, like on my wedding day, he'll probably tell me, like, this is your gift. Like, my whole thing is, I need to know for the next person so I don't make the same mistake. But if he's implying there was no mistake, it was just ran its course or whatever the situation, obviously it's not important enough for him to tell me 17 years later. So that was my closure. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, it raises an interesting point because very often we don't get the closure we're looking for.
Yeah.
And can we be okay with that?
Well, I feel like the friendship is closure. Like it wasn't either of us. It was just the situation, I guess, because we're amazing friends and we're there for each other. And I don't know. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. It's just, I feel like because we have the friendship, that was closure for me.
If that's what does it, it's very subjective. So if that's what it is, that's what it is.
Because I feel like there's no reason for him not to be around me. So it's nothing wrong with me.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, that's good. I told you offline, I'm not going to retell the story online, but I told you offline about the last relationship I had before I met Louis. Mm-hmm. It was an absolute horror show. The one before that one was the one that was the most painful. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Which I know sounds strange because, I mean, I'm not going to relate the story on the air, but I told you the story and it was a really, really uncomfortable situation. Mm-hmm. So you can barely even imagine how the one before that was so painful. I think I actually told you a little bit about that one too.
You did, yeah.
Yeah. But that one, it took me like 3 or 4 months to get over it. And even then, I got over it because I got that closure you were talking about. Mm-hmm. I got a phone call from her out of the blue because her friends had convinced her that she had treated me rottenly, which, by the way, she had. Yeah. So she was calling to apologize. And I was kind of blown away that I got the phone call at all. Mm-hmm. But the point I wanted to make, and I know I made this to you, is after I got that closure phone call, it was like nothing had changed. And I don't mean that I was still, attached to her. It's like I felt no feeling. There was I kind of expected there'd be like some great shifting in my mood or whatever. I felt nothing.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a sign that it's time to move on.
It's not only a sign that it's time to move on. I think it's also a sign that there's something inside you need to work on. And I certainly did. At that point in time, it was kind of a wake-up call in a sense. It sounds strange to say it, but not getting any kind of reaction at all is a wake-up call.
Yeah.
Because what it's really telling you is there's a part of you that you're blocking. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know it. I mean, it's not like I could look at my shirt and say, what am I blocking? No, I mean, I had no idea it was happening. Yeah. And it actually took me a couple of years after that to figure out why and what I was blocking. Right. But it is a signal. So, I mean, if your tendency is to want to post on Facebook, oh, I just had this breakup or I broke up 3 or 4 months ago and I really want my ex back and so forth. First step before you post that, take a little inventory. Yeah. Just take a little inventory inside and see, first of all, do you have any kind of feeling about what's going on? I know you have this feeling that you built up in your mind about, oh, God, I really need this person and so forth. Mm-hmm. But if that person were to call and it were to feel the same as it was on the day that he or she broke up with you or you broke up with them, whichever it was, what would that tell you? Mm-hmm. That's the thing you got to take inventory on.
Yeah. And I think you need to figure out, is it the person or is it the feeling that you want back? Yeah. Those are two separate things and they can get very intertwined.
Yes. It is important to separate that because of course we want the feeling of being in love.
Of course. Who doesn't want to be happy? Of course we want the
feeling of being happy. And yeah. The mistake is assuming that the person who previously hurt us is now going to all of a sudden give us that feeling forever for the rest of our lives.
Or you have that regret because you feel like they're going to give that good feeling to somebody else.
Which means that now your happiness is dependent upon not just what this other person did, but on what the other person is involved with is doing.
Mm-hmm.
The person who not only you have no control over, you probably don't even know them.
Exactly.
You know,
exactly.
So you have given your power away to a faceless stranger.
Mm-hmm.
This is not a happy, healthy thing.
No, it's not a good thing. You need to talk amongst yourself.
Yes.
And figure it out.
And if you can't figure it out, talk to somebody else.
I was just going to say, talk to someone.
Yeah.
We have many life coaches on our podcast.
We have wonderful life coaches. I mean, if you want a life coach, take any of the life coaches who appear on our show. They're terrific.
Yeah.
Really?
Am I the only non-life coach on the show?
Louis.
Okay.
Louis is kind of an informal life coach. He doesn't do it for a living.
Mm-hmm.
But, he has friends that he helps out.
Oh, well, I do that too.
And Shelley, who did the Monday evening show, when I was still doing a Monday evening show, she's in the same kind of situation.
Okay.
Yeah. Trying to think who else. Well, Bill isn't really a life coach. He's an SRT coach. So, I mean, there's like a parallel there. It's just not quite, a life coach is really helping you work on your issues, whereas an SRT is helping you work on it from a spirit point of view. In other words, spirit is doing
I don't even say helping you work out. It's pointing out the issue.
Pointing out, yeah. And then you send a message, please clear that, please clear that.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Not quite the same thing as what a life coach does.
Right.
And similarly, what a life coach does isn't quite what a therapist does.
Facts.
So the life coach is trying to help you figure out how to move forward. The therapist is trying to look at what's holding you back. Yeah, that's the big distinction.
Definitely true. Yeah.
It took me a while to figure out what that difference was, but when I finally got it, it was like, oh yeah.
Because it was like at first you would think, why would you need one and the other? But yeah, you should, if you can afford it, try the combination.
Absolutely. Oh yeah. Yeah. And actually you do get some overlap. I mean, a good therapist will also help you to move forward, and a good life coach will help you dig up stuff from the past, but their specialties are separate.
Yes.
Yeah. That's really the big difference there. So, okay. Well, let's see. The original topic was what to do after the breakup, how to deal with the breakup.
Yep.
Okay. How much of that we covered? Well, we've talked about, some of the strategies involved in identifying what your love language is, so you know what to do going forward.
Yep. We've talked about love languages. We've talked about closure. Now we've got to talk about moving on and the next steps.
So, I don't know what your first next. Well, actually, I think I do know what your first next.
You do.
Because you helped me to make a video that we never really used very much. Where you told me what the next step was that you used.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And this is one I've heard from a lot of people. My wife used this one. This is how she found me. Interestingly enough.
Yep.
But it's the old list.
Yes.
Creating the list, and I haven't totally figured this part out. But as far as I can tell, about 99% of all list makers are female. Men, I think what we do is when we make the lists in our head, women write them down.
Yeah,
I don't know why that is.
Yeah.
I haven't figured that out. Do you have any idea?
No. I think as women, we're just list makers. It comes from shopping for groceries.
Maybe. But when you live alone as long as I did, I had to shop for groceries too. I actually made grocery lists. I just didn't make love lists.
Well, that's what I was thinking. I feel like men make the list after they're in the relationship. Like, okay, I like this about her. Is that a good thing? I like this about him, or, whatever the situation is.
Yeah.
And
there's
I
some
think
of that.
it's right before they go ring shopping. That's when they make their list, as opposed to deciding what they want before they get into the relationship.
Possibly. Although when I was ready to go ring shopping, I was definitely going through, but I had already had a list in my mind. That's why I said I think we're making in the mind list makers.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. And I think there is actually a great value in writing it down. I kind of wish I had done that earlier. I mean, I wouldn't have met Louise if I had, because obviously I would have met somebody else. But so there was a reason why we met when we did, because we both had some growing up to do. Let's be perfectly honest.
But if you can do that together, that's great.
Oh, well, yeah, we did it separately. If we hadn't done the separate work, we wouldn't have found each other. We're pretty much.
That's true. That's true.
I mean, one of the first things Louise told me was, on the first day we had the conversation, why didn't we meet until we were in our 40s, for goodness sake?
Dudes ask me that all the time.
Well, and the answer was pretty clear. She said, if you had met me even 5 years ago, you would have turned and run screaming in the other direction because I was so codependent. That's what she told me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? That's probably true and probably would have been the same kind of thing with me because for me, I mean, I told you my biggest issue, even though I didn't realize it, was I never believed any relationship was going to work.
Right.
So I was sabotaging from the moment I said hello.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let me tell you, it's pretty miserable.
But you learned your lesson and achieved your goal.
I did. And here's the cool part. I didn't know that was the lesson when I met Louise.
Right. That's the thing. Your hindsight's 20/20. You realize you're learning the lesson after the lesson has been learned.
Which is actually reassuring because that means that even if you're in the middle of something similar to that and you haven't figured out what it is, the good news, you don't necessarily have to figure it out.
That's what I was trying to explain to my friend because he was like, why are you going on dates with all these dudes? And I was like, because you learn a different lesson from every situation. And he's like, well, why can't you learn the lesson before you waste your time with this dude? And I was like, if you don't do it, you can't look, there's no lesson to learn. So, you got to go with the experience and see where it takes you. And you learn different things about yourself. But again, about what you prefer and what you don't prefer, so it's
true.
You can't learn a lesson unless you take the adventure. So.
And in my own case, what really made the difference, and this is a story I've told before, is I gave up on dating. In other words, this is the LOA thing, right? I
do that once a week.
You do that once a week, okay. Okay. And here I was, I had this major breakthrough. I did it once, But no, I mean, we talk about it in Law of Attraction, how you want to, you put your request out there and then you just let go of the result.
Yeah.
Which is generally not easy to do until you get into such pain as I was in that I just couldn't stand the idea of trying to date anymore.
Yeah.
And that's what led me to let go. And as soon as I let go, a month later, I met Louise. Because all of that vibration about stuff I didn't like, that I didn't prefer, I had just given up. And anybody who would ask me, I mean, when Deborah, who introduced me to Louise, she was a conduit between us. When Deborah contacted me and said, I have a coworker who wants to meet you. Can I give you her phone number? I said, absolutely not.
No.
No way. I'm done. I can't do this anymore. This is too painful.
Oh, God.
Fortunately, Deborah is also a therapist, so she was able to kind of talk me off the cliff, so to speak. But
thank God for that.
Yeah, good friends make a big difference. In fact,
Facts.
Friends actually made sure that we got together because after we met, I think I told you our first date was horrible.
Right.
It was just, I mean, she wasn't looking at me and she was thinking I'm too tall for her and all this stuff. And
imagine if you had phones back then. Oh, God.
Well, actually, we did have phones. They were just the old-fashioned kind.
Okay. Imagine if you had social media back then.
If we had social media back then, there's no way we would have gotten together.
Exactly.
It was done. We were cooked. Take it out of the oven, put it on the counter.
Oh, God.
But, yeah, it was just not good. And fortunately, she spoke with her friend Leona and told her, what her concern was. And Leona says, well, what's wrong? What she was telling all the things that she liked about me. Well, what's wrong? Well, he's so tall. I mean, how are we going to fit together?
Girl, that means he can get stuff off the top of the fridge for you. She was not thinking ahead.
Well, what Leona said to her was, if that's the only thing that's in the way, what the hell are you waiting for? Go meet this guy again.
Yeah.
Don't let that stop you. That's like the least of it. And then Deborah was my friend to talk to. The day that we met was May 2nd, 1998. I remember the date.
Oh, you guys just had an anniversary.
We did. Well, it was also 2 days before my birthday, so that makes it easy to remember too.
Listen. You're just like, let me pile on the gifts. I like receiving gifts. This is my love language.
Well, at the time, it didn't feel like a gift. At the time, it felt like, oh, God, do I really have to see her again? That's what it felt like.
Happy birthday to you.
But the day that Louise and I had this bad date, it was we went and met for late breakfast, early lunch kind of a thing. Later that day, Deborah was having a party. It was a joint birthday party because her birthday is a few days after mine, and there was another person whose birthday was just a few days before. So we were having this like group birthday party. And I went to the party, and she said, "So how'd the date go?" And I said, "It was terrible." I explained to her why it was terrible, and she says, "Well, you're going to give it the 3-date rule, right?" And I said,
"Yes."
What? What's the 3-date rule? I never heard of that. And she explained it, and I said, "Oh, God."
But you follow baseball, and you don't believe in 3 rules? Like, come on.
Well, it's not that I don't believe in it. I'd never heard of it.
Okay.
I had never heard the term at all. It was like completely new to me. So she explained it, and at first I was a little resistant because I knew how bad that date had gone, but I said, "Oh, all right." And thank God that Deborah said that to me, and Leona said what she said to Louise, because we had a second date. The second date was much better. The third date was even better than that. Fourth date, and by the fifth date, we were together.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Love story.
Yeah. But it's an example of how important it is to have friends who are, you know, in your corner and you know, kind of showing you not just the mirror, but showing you reality. Showing you what's really going on. It makes a big difference.
Yeah.
So there's another strategy for dealing with a breakup. Make sure you have a good friend.
Facts. You got to have a nice sounding board. I call them my defensive line. But you got to have those.
Absolutely.
Because you can't go through it by yourself, or, you know, you got to have somebody to bounce ideas off of. Like, I was talking to this guy and I was like, he's cute, but I don't know. He's got a kid. And then my friend stopped me and said, "Hold on. So let me get this straight. You like everything about him except for the fact that he has a kid. So you don't want to have kids, but you don't want to date anyone who already has kids, which means the possibility of him not wanting any more kids is a bigger possibility. Like, do you hear yourself?" And I was like, all right, I'll give him a chance. Turns out he didn't have enough time for me, which, you know, it happens.
Different issue. Yeah.
Different issue. But it wasn't that bad. He had his weekend. I had mine. It was cool.
And it's an interesting thing about somebody who already has kids. Because I know it's especially true with men. It may also be true with women. I'm not sure. You can tell me. But there is this false meme, so to speak, that runs around in our heads that says, well, if I'm going to have kids, they've got to be mine. I have to have conceived the kid. You
know what? My mom's like that.
Really?
Yeah. She surprised me and my sister one day because my sister was saying something about adopting. And my mother said something about, well, that's not my real grandchild. I was like, woo! Wow. Really? From you? Wow. Okay. She's like, it just doesn't feel the same. I was like, it didn't come out of your vagina. Why do you care? Like, a kid's a kid. It needs love. Like, what's the problem? Like,
yeah, right. That's the way I see it.
You know?
But by the same token, I've had that other feeling. To be perfectly honest, I mean, I'll give you an intimate detail here. That for me, especially early on in my life, was a big part of sexual attraction. Just the feeling, just the fantasy of that.
Yeah. Okay.
That was a big part of it. And it probably is for others too, you know? But that's where you kind of have to take that inventory again and say to yourself, okay, well, great. It's great to have a kid that way, but is it the kid that you want, or is it the fantasy that you want?
Right.
Which is
you gotta separate the two.
Because once you have kids aren't a fantasy anymore.
Oh, no, they're not.
Quite real.
Life gets real for the next, and they say 18 years, it's really forever. Because I'm 35 and I still live at home, so this is a never-ending story from my mother.
Every mom's nightmare. Oh no, the kid that never left.
What do you mean? I'm a delight.
Nah, I'm kidding you.
I'm helpful. I'm joyful. Sometimes. And
by the way, you know what you just did there? You tied into the love language in a nice different way. You gave yourself love language.
Oh, yes. Self-love language is definitely, that's why I said you have to figure out your love languages, because you have to love yourself. If you don't love yourself, ain't nobody else going to love you. Tell you that right now.
No kidding. And that's a huge, huge point right there.
Yes, because people go out looking for love in all the wrong places. They think that their self-love is going to come from someone else's appreciation of them. And that's not what these love languages are for. You're not looking for these things in other people. These are the things that you require. However, you give them to yourself also. Otherwise, it doesn't work.
I love the phrase you use, not because I love the phrase, but because it's such a cliche. And it's one that everybody uses, and nobody thinks about the fact that there's a piece missing.
Yes.
Looking for love in all the wrong places.
Mm-hmm.
It fails to ask the question and answer the question, what's the right place?
It's different for everybody. But
Well,
it starts
I would argue it's the
within you.
same for everybody. It's inside.
Yes. Yes.
All the wrong places is anything outside of you.
Yes.
Inside of you is the right place.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, it's really simple.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
You know, because if you aren't looking inside for love, first of all, you're cutting off your most empowering, expansive ability to do anything in life.
Right.
That's where all the energy comes from.
It's like, it's funny to me because when I'm on these dating apps, the first question I get is, oh my God, you're so gorgeous. How are you single? And I go, I don't know. I'm awesome. I don't know what everybody else's problem is. I'm freaking amazing.
I love the attitude. That's
it's
great.
Everybody else. I just haven't found the right one yet. That's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I get it. Like I've said this before. You got to kiss all the frogs. Not all the frogs. Just a bunch of frogs before you can find the one that turns into a prince.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes. Skip the warts, but other than that.
Skip the warts. It's like I told my cousin, I personally would just like to get straight to the castle and kill, you know, the middleman. But you got to do what you got to do.
Well, also, and this is something that I did early on before the whole dating thing really got out of control for me because I had the wrong belief system about meeting people. But early on, I took the attitude like, this is fun.
Mm-hmm.
You know, okay, so I'm meeting somebody new. I'm scared to death.
Yeah.
I'm absolutely terrified that, you know, what this person's going to think of me or whether this is going to work out, but it's fun. It's an adventure.
Yeah, like it's an adventure for me. I love talking to new people. And I love talking about myself. So the first initial, you know, conversation obviously is via text because it's 2019. Mm-hmm. But, you know,
that's right.
They just sit there and ask you questions about you. And I'm like, I love this part.
That's good.
I get to tell the world more about me. And then I get words of affirmation back. And it's fantastic.
I got to ask you because this is something that gets played out in the movies a lot when first dates are portrayed. Usually it's portrayed as one person asking the other person about, you know, talk about yourself, and the other person saying, okay, well, enough about me. How about you? Mm-hmm. But I'm wondering how often it's, well, enough about you. Let me tell you about me.
Right here. And I hate the people that cut me off.
Note to world, don't cut Alex off when you're in the middle of a first date with her.
And they're like, oh, you do that? That's great. Yeah, me too. I like to do. We're not on you yet. We're not. That's the second part.
That's right.
But the thing is about dating in the current time is you get all that out of the way with the talking phase. And the talking phase is everything's on the phone via text, via video chat, whatever, before you actually go on your first date. So when you're on your first date, you actually know about the person. So you don't have to do the awkward, what do you do for work? You know, and that whole, cause that can make a date bad. Like you're just sitting there playing 20 questions and it's so boring. And then, you know, trying to chew your salad in between. It's like,
well, I'm going to take the other side of that one for a moment. Okay. Because we did it before social media. This is back, you know, in the days of, you know, horse and buggy and so forth. So
you're Amish?
I'm Amish. Yes.
I'm Episcopalian. Nice to meet you.
Didn't you see the hat? No, seriously. The point that I want to make is, I mean, we've been kind of making fun of it, but really, this is a very serious point, and that is when you're sharing that stuff. First of all, you don't want to just share it just on the first meeting. I think it's an ongoing process.
Yes, it is.
And the fact that it's ongoing, and if it's ongoing and it's a drudgery, that's a good sign that this is not the right person.
Right.
You know? But the more important thing, this is the one I really want to hone in on. We made fun of, you know, people who are saying, yes, well, enough about me, how about you? Or enough about you, how about me? You know,
right.
But really, it's balance.
Yes. Balance is key.
Because if you're spending all the time talking about you and I'm not doing any talking about me, for whatever reason, whether because I wanted it or you wanted it or whatever, that's an imbalanced relationship.
Yes.
Before you even get started.
That's a problem.
It has to be equal. It has to be a balance between, okay, I know as much about you as you know about me.
Now, see, that's hard for me because of my social cue situation. So I have to remind myself, and this is how, when you're autistic, you learn different ways to work around what's going on up here. So I remind myself, okay, what facts do I have to go back to my friends with?
That's a good idea.
Because they always ask me, okay, where's he live? How old is he? Does he have any kids? Blah, 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 blah. And I need these facts because I can't go back and go, I don't know. But you talked to this guy for 4 hours. How do you not know? Yeah. So that's my way around it. That's how I remind myself, okay, make sure you ask about him. Or when he says something about you, bounce it back. But don't be that person that just repeats back everything the person just asked you, because that's the worst, too. That means you don't know how to conversate.
Conversate. There's another a hashtag for today.
Conversate.
Yes, we invent words here on LOA. Don't like it? Get over it. No, seriously.
Google it. It'll be up there in a couple hours.
That's right. But that balance is so important because, well, first of all, if you don't have the balance, like you say, not only can you not tell your friends about it, you don't know the person.
Right.
How can you possibly relate to somebody if you don't even know who they are?
Right.
And vice versa. How can they relate to you if they don't know who you are?
Yes.
Which goes back to what we talked about earlier. This is why it's so important to love yourself. You can't explain to somebody else who you are if you don't love yourself enough to do so.
Actual factuals.
If you try, you can relay, demographic information, I'm such and such an age, such and such a height, such and such a weight,
Exactly.
you can do that.
Yeah, but that's all in your bio. They should have known that before they swiped right.
There's no relating in that.
Yeah.
Other than, if you're both tall, for instance.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you can relate on, well, geez, boy, this is what I deal with it being tall. Oh, I know exactly what you mean. Now you're relating. But if you're just conveying statistics, there's no relating going on.
Right. These are just numbers and facts. Like it's information that you're studying. You're not feeling any emotion from, oh, it's nice to know that you help blind people. Like, things like that. You gotta know.
And we just touched on the magic word, feeling.
Yes, the most important, I think.
What's the point of a relationship without feeling it? And I don't mean sex. I mean feeling in the heart, in who you are, resonating in your being. Does this person, when this person talks, how does it affect you?
Yes. Do you smile when the phone rings?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you talked about the 4-hour conversation where you don't know the person.
Yeah.
But
what about the 2-minute conversation where you know everything?
Well, there's that one too. Yeah. But before Louise and I met, we didn't really do this by design. Maybe Louise did it by design. I didn't really consciously do this. I think it was just sort of like a defense mechanism more than anything else. But we did 3 straight phone conversations 1 week apart. It was a Wednesday, and then the next Wednesday, and the next Wednesday, each one lasting 2 hours. And they were balanced. And there was a lot, we're talking with a lot of humor. There was a lot of humor.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of exchange of information. And then there was just a lot of sitting back and just, chewing the fat. And there was this whole panoply, this whole combination of different things that were going on in the conversation. It wasn't the intense, I got to know who you are, or I got to tell you who I am. It was just conversing. Just talking about stuff. And so we were actually kind of not shy. Well, we were that too, but we're kind of surprised when we met that the first meeting went so badly because the phone calls went so well.
Yeah, well, you already learned everything about each other, so you had nothing to talk about.
Well, we hadn't learned everything about each other. We had learned a lot about each other.
That's true.
What we ran into was her unwillingness to look me in the eye and my unwillingness to make it really, really clear. I told her I was tall. I just didn't tell her how tall I was.
Withholding information.
So it was a shock. But that was what I had been taught to do through previous relationships. Because every time
no.
But that's what I've been taught. I didn't know.
Okay, but you should have known.
I'm not saying I'm not defending. I'm not saying it was a good idea. I'm just saying
I know.
I had learned.
I'm just saying you could have learned the lesson from those relationships that didn't work. That probably wasn't a good idea.
But I couldn't learn that one because of the overall message that it was the relationship was going to fail before we even got started.
Facts.
This is self-sabotage.
Yes.
And self-sabotage is one of the hardest things to dig out because you don't realize you're doing it.
And I think that's a perfect note to end on, and we will talk about self-sabotage next week, I think.
The only bad part is I'm shocked that the hour is over.
I
know. Which shows just how much fun we're having doing this. But yeah. Oh, wow. Good topic. So yeah, why don't we carry on this topic next week? I'm sure Joel would probably have taken.
Joel's got all the self-sabotage, so he will tell us everything.
Well, plus he's like a wind-up toy. You get him started, you can't stop him.
Oh yeah. I'm like, so here's today's topic.
Go.
Back to you, Joel.
And then it's my job every half hour to come in with some messages, you know.
Right. Here we go. Tap, tap, tap. Alex, you still there?
Yeah, right.
I hear you breathing.
Oh, we love you, Joel. We love you so much.
We miss you, Joel.
We definitely do. So yeah, join us next week when Joel will be back. I'm pretty sure he will be back. He's here like half the time. Just a question of whether there's a plan.
You know what? It was supposed to happen today. Sam, I think his name was supposed to call today.
That's true. That's true. He probably was turned off because Joel wasn't here. You know, Joel has his fan club.
I mean, what am I, chopped liver? Again, I announce I'm amazing.
And I'm amazing in training. And with that thought in mind.
Amazing in training. Okay, late. Gotta go. Love you. Bye.
That's not original. I just have to say it's not original. But anyway, Louise actually came up with that one years ago.
Yeah, she did.
But anyway, thank you all for listening. Thank you to our podcast listeners as well. We will see you all next time here on LOA Today. Goodbye, everybody.